This is TTArtisan's 40mm f2 lens that is super lightweight, very compact as you can see, and priced at $168. Was available for the Sony E mount and Nikon Z mount, and later the L mount system, which I have here. And I'm telling you, this lens is a capable lens. But just to let you know, I use it on my Lumix S1R Mark II and also my Lumix S5 2X. I challenged myself to use this lens on the short film, and I think just one scene, and it was the establishing shot where I used a 16mm lens. So the rest of the short film was shot on this lens. I also shot a YouTube production. It was like a reality show with this lens as part of the setup. I also went on a family trip to an airplane museum where I used this lens to get a few clips. I did a little bit of photography, and I picked a few things about this lens that I like and a few things I don't like. I'll be discussing sharpness, autofocusing, chromatic aberration, focus breathing, vignetting as well. When it comes to the build and design of this lens impresses me. I like that it's all metal in terms of the build. Only parts that are plastic are the front lens cover and the rear lens cap. So we'll talk about this, but also the sun hood is metal as well. So it's a very, very solid premium looking lens. And now I'm back to the rear lens cap. Don't misplace it, because this is where you do all your firmware updates. It has a USB-C port there and it has some contact points. This lens weighs just 215 grams if you consider having the front and rear lens cap and the sun hood. The filter size for this lens is 52mm, so obviously you'd need a step-up ring. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4. I needed about 5 step-up rings to use my 72mm filters, and I think another 2 to use my 82mm filter. So take that into consideration if you're getting this lens and you don't have a filter size at 52mm in diameter. You definitely need to get step-up rings. It's made of sand diaphragm blades and 9 elements in 6 groups, and has an aperture rating from f2 all the way to f16. There's no autofocus manual focus switch. In fact, the first time I unboxed this lens, I was wondering, where's the autofocus switch? There's also no aperture lock. I like it, especially coming from someone who owns a bunch of Sigma lenses. Another thing is that there's no weather sealing, so be careful if you're shooting in dusty environments or in wet conditions. And in terms of shooting with this lens, as it's a very compact lens, it didn't make my shooting any uncomfortable. It's super light. On my S5 2X or my S1R Mark II, it was easy to just get my shots done handheld, no issues at all, not front heavy, it's compact, it's light, something I can easily throw into my backpack and off I go with my camera. In terms of autofocusing and handling, this lens is fantastic. The autofocus is great, it's fast, it's quick, it's accurate. There's so much more I can say about the autofocusing of this lens, but also the motors are quiet, and that's thanks to its STM motors found inside the lens. Another thing I've been doing with this lens is that I've been using it on my Lumix S5 2X most of the time for my top-down videos. Usually I'd use my 35mm f1.4, but that lens can be noisy and the microphone will be picking up when I'm unboxing. Now, when it comes to image quality, this is where things begin to get interesting. In terms of sharpness, the center of the lens is very sharp at f2, while the edges of the lens look soft. At f2.8, the edges begin to get sharper, and as you step down to even f5.6, the edges begin to get more in focus, which I found kind of weird, but nothing to bother me about. But some people may not like it, especially if you do landscape photography or street photography, where you want the full frame, everything in the frame to be probably tech sharp. But for me, I needed to see that the center of the frame was sharp, and this lens delivered. So you want to consider stepping down. Even in terms of vignetting, there was a bit of vignetting around the edges, which can be worrisome as well. At f2, you see the vignetting. At f5.6, it kind of reduces. In terms of bokeh, this lens renders bokehs very, very pleasing. The bokehs are round and nice, no issues with the bokeh. Focus breathing on this lens is noticeable as the lens tries to catch focus on a subject or object. If it's a Sony E-mount version, you know the Sony cameras, they have focus breathing control or compensation. If you use a Lumix camera, there is no focus breathing compensation. I don't know about the Nikon Z-mount systems, but that's something to take into consideration. In terms of flaring, at f2, it's not good. At f2.8, it gets a little bit better, but not there. You get better flaring from like f4 and f5.6 from my test. And when it comes to chromatic aberration, I didn't notice any issues with the lens. I zoomed in and didn't really notice anything that would say, oh, this lens has bad chromatic aberration. Those things don't really matter to me because I'm not a pixel peeper. I didn't compare with another lens, but the chromatic aberration in this lens is very well controlled. And if you're worried too much about the imperfection of this lens, it could be an advantage to you. Know that this is a $168 lens. You're not going to have the same coating like a $700 or a $1,000 lens. When I took this lens out to shoot day out with my kids, I had it on my S1R2. It was fun to shoot with the lens. I liked the field of view I was getting from this lens. I liked that I was able to carry a lens this compact with a camera, battery, and it wasn't bogus. It didn't feel so weighty. It was light. I was able to just put my camera to my eye, get my shot, put it in portrait mode, get my shot, or in vertical mode. I had no issues at all. It was fun to shoot with. And when I used this lens to shoot the YouTube reality kind of show, it was a dating show, I had no issues. On the other body was a Sigma 35 1.4. And then I had the 40mm on the other lens, and I just used the distance away from the subject to kind of frame equally. So this was a good match. And for my B cam, for my YouTube videos, I like the fact that it's just beside my A camera and it gives me that tighter shot and that nice depth. So I'll quickly round up with the things I like and dislike about this lens. And for the things I like, number one would be the solid metal build. Very, very solid lens for its price. Another thing is that it's compact and lightweight. I like the autofocus system. It's super fast, it's reliable, and it's also sharp in the center, which is what I care about. I don't care about the softness on the edge. It has its own character. So some people will ask, does the lens have character? Yes, this lens has its own character. Center sharp, soft at the edges. And you're getting a lens with great autofocus at a good price, $168. And the bokeh is nice. And now to what people say as negatives or limitations of this lens. There is no weather sealing, $168. There is also slight vignetting, which is noticeable. There's also no Adobe lens profile, so you need to correct your images manually. And the final thing is that there is noticeable focus breathing, and I think the flaring could have been controlled. But again, this is $168. You don't get the same flaring control as you get in more expensive lenses that are like 3 times the price of this one. Overall, the TTArtisan 40mm f2 is a fun lens to use considering its price. It's a very, very capable lens. The autofocus is great. It's compact. It's lightweight. It has an aperture ring that you can manually adjust in case that's the kind of thing. I always like filming or shooting my 35mm f1.4 lens from Sigma, but since I got this one, I changed that because it gets you closer to that human eye perspective. I also reminds me with Dizio RS Luster 40mm t1.4 lens I recently reviewed. I'll put a link there. This lens reminds me of that, just that it's f2, which still gives you that nice depth of field. So let me know if this lens is something you consider adding to your kit, is budget friendly. And let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you can see more videos like this. And as usual, it's your filmmaker. Peace.